Hello. Hello, everybody. Give me a thumbs up if I'm live, Fraser, please. Beautiful. Hi, everybody. I'm just waiting for everything to catch up. Hi. Hello, and welcome to Kick the Doors first annual Birds Night. We're online. It's mad. Oh my goodness. You will notice it's Bethany. Hello, yes. I have my chat function box right down here so I can see everything that you guys post, which is really, really fun. So yeah, welcome, hello. We are hosting this, we as in Kick the Door, with the help of the brilliant Shona Murray. And all the proceeds are going to Refuigi. Now, if you don't know Refuigi, they are a charity that provide a warm welcome to forcibly displaced people and they enter a new city. They are an incredible charity that have provided more than 5,000 community-built welcome packs to people all across Glasgow and Scotland. So they're a very, very worthy cause. Oh my goodness, yes, people are using the chat box, that's so exciting. I was like, they're going to be silent, no one's going to say anything. Yes, I absolutely encourage you. So here I am in my living room in Glasgow, and we are actually broadcasting from two different locations. I am here, I am broadcasting to Fraser, the other member of Kick the Door, and our tech genius, Wiz, for this evening, and he's broadcasting from his living room, which is very confusing. So I think we can hear him.
Hello.
Can you give us Fraser?
Hello. I'm here.
Hey! Are you excited?
Very excited.
Good. Brilliant. So this will be a mix of live hosting and pre-recorded content, which we are very excited about. It's very 2021. And just as a wee note, we will not be doing comfort breaks during the live stream. So feel free to have this on as you eat your dinner, as you scoff down the last year Christmas chocolates. You can leave and come back whenever suits you. Also, the chat function just beneath the live stream, use whenever you want. You can compliment the performers, you can heckle your host. That's your choice, I guess. Now, I think we should get started. Oh my goodness. Well, hey, hello everybody from Iona's Maw. Listen to those sultry tones. Well, thank you. Happy Burns Night for Cape Town. Cape Town! That's so cool. Oh my goodness, we're international. So people who don't know, this is Burns Night, and it is not only celebrated with songs and speeches and poems, but also with a proper Burns supper, haggis, neeps and tatties, and a good old-fashioned ceilidh. Now, I know most of us are really missing the feeling of going for dinner and a dance with our friends and family, so we hope that this can fill this hole in your heart and celebrate the big man as we do it. But who is Robert Burns? That's the question. A question which hopefully will be answered tonight. All you need to know for now is that he was a poet, a Scotsman, he collected folk songs and tunes, and he had a certain way with the ladies. And he was a pioneer of the Scots language. He's also known as Rab, Rabby, Just Burns, and the Ploughman Poet. And with that, I think we should go right on in, because let's just do it. We had haggis and stovies. Oh, yum! Yes! Oh, I meant Fraser's sultry tones, but you're lovely and all. Thanks. So let's just introduce our first guest of the evening, a man I happen to know rather well, Samuel Stewart. Sam is a performer based in Glasgow and a massive fan of Burns and the winner of the Duncan McRae Memorial Award for the Speaking of Scots. So a real Scots veteran here. Now, it wouldn't be a Burns night if we didn't start with the source of all joy in this world, the haggis. In true Burns style, Rab wrote the address to the haggis to celebrate the dish that was more commonly found on the working man's table than on the table of the upper class. By putting pen to paper, articulating the love we all have for this dish, and elevating it for the world to appreciate, he managed to bring everyone together to enjoy his favourite dinner. Because it doesn't matter where you're from, what clothes you wear, and how much money you have. All that matters is the haggis on the table and the people you share it with. Now, don't worry if you've already had your haggis, or if you're not having one at all tonight, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy our Sam doing the address to the haggis. Take it away, Fraser.
Fair fire, honest sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin' race, I bin them a', you tak your place, Pinch, tripe or therm, weel are you worthy o' a grace as lang's my arm. The groaning trencher there you fill, your hurdies like a distant hill. Your peen would help to mend a mill in time o' need, while through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. His knife sae rustic labour dicht, and cuts you up wi' ready slicht, trenching your gushing entrails bricht like ony ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sicht, warm, reeking, rich. Then, horn for horn, they stretch and strive, they'll tack the hindmost on they drive, till other wheel swelled kites belive are bent like drums. Then old Guidman, maist like to rive, bethank it, hums. Is there that our is French ragout, or olio that would staw a sou, or fricassee would mak her spew, wi' perfect scunner, looks doon wi' sneer and scorn for view on sic a dinner? Pear devil, see him ower as trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shrink a good whiplash, his neve a nit, through bloody flood or field to dash. Oh, how unfit. But mark the rustic haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread, clapping his wally neva blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads'll sned like taps o' thistle. Ye poors wa mak mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. Old Scotland wants nae skinking ware that jops in luggies, but if you wish her great for prayer, gie her a haggis.
Yes! Woohoo! Thank you so much, Sam. I love that. I won't lie to you, obviously, Sam is my boyfriend and we do live together, so I have heard that speech many times over the past week, but it never gets old. I absolutely love it. And fun fact, Sam actually did his speech at our local Morrison's, and it's going to be all on the Morrison's Annieland Facebook page because he is representing actors, and that's very, very exciting to me. I can't believe it. Being in Scotland all my life, could still do with a Duolingo class on Scots. Me too, man. Honestly, some of those words I'm like, you just kind of nod along and smile. But that's fine. That's just what we do. Missing Scotland, hello from California. California! That's so cool. A wee shout out and hello by Fraser's Maw and all. Oh, that's so sweet.
Hello.
I love it. Now, usually the address to the haggis would happen after the haggis is piped in and before the food is served, but since we're doing a supperless burn supper, we just went with the address. I think we should move straight on to our first piece of music of the night. This is a real bit of knees up. And our next guest of the evening is the beautiful Sally Swanson. Not only is speaking of Scots, but also of Gaelic, this actor and musician, Sally, hails from the Highlands and will be serenading us on her accordion this evening. I can't wait because I've seen her on her accordion before and she's absolutely fantastic. So here, giving you some Ceilidh tunes, since we can't actually provide you with a Ceilidh, Sally, she's going to introduce her own songs.
Hello, my name is Sally Swanson and this is Mrs. Macpherson of Inverin by G.S. McLennan. And this is the Banjo Breakdown.
see Fraser and you can only see me, but I can see Fraser. So we were having a wee dance to Sally's tunes. They were so good. I love the accordion so much. Thank you so much to Sally Swanson. And in lieu of applause, please, if you feel so inclined, feel free to put things in the chat for the performers to read. I'm sure they would very much appreciate it. But thank you so much, Sally. Our next poem of the evening is To a Louse. Not to a moose. Aha, there's two of them. To a Louse, a classic beastie poem. However, this beastie is not held in as high regard as the mouse was. Upon seeing a beastie hanging out of a lady's hat while sat in church, Rab is on tenterhooks, watching this beastie nestle about the lady's hair. So she remains sadly oblivious and mistakes Rab's attentions for flirtations, rather than him being like, Ken, there's a beastie in your hair. If you watched the vice presidential election debate last year, then you'll know that beasties don't care about class or rank. They give everyone the heebie-jeebies in equal measure. And performing this poem for us tonight is a Scots-Italian actor from Glasgow. After debuting at the National Theatre in Petergent, she found herself sparkled out her mind in the Tron panto, and just before the pandemic kicked in, she was working with Vanishing Point in The Metamorphosis. A Burns aficionado, a fierce speaker of Scots, and another winner of the Duncan McRae Memorial Award for the Speaking of Scots. Here is Hannah Visocki performing To a Louse.
To a Louse by Rabbie Burns. Ha! Where you gone, you crowling fairly? Your impudence protects you sorely. I cannae say but you strunt rarely our gauze and lace. Though faith I fear you down but sparely on sick a place. Ye ugly, creeping, blasted warner, detested, shunned by sont and sinner, how dare you set your foot upon her, say fine a lady? Gaze somewhere else and seek your dinner on some poor body. Swift in some beggar's half-it squattle, there you may creep and sprawl and sprattle, wi' other kindred jumping cattle and shoals and nations, where horn nor bane ne'er dare unsettle your thick plantations. Now hold you there. You're out of sight, below the fatrills snug and tight. Na faith ye yet you'll no be right, till you've got on it, the very tapmost towering height o' Mrs. Bonnet. My sooth, right bald ye set your nose out, as plump and grey as ony groset. Oh, for some rank mercurial roset or fell red smedum, I'd gie ye a sick-hearted doset would dress your drodum. I wouldn't be surprised to spy ye on an old wife's fleaning toy, or abling some bit duddy boys on wily coat. But Mrs. Fine Lenardi, fie, how dare ye dote? Oh Jenny, dinna toss your heed and set your beauties a breed. You little ken what cursed speed the blast is making. They winks and fingerheads a dread are notice taking. Oh, would some power the gift they gie us, to see ourselves as others see us. It wad frae mony a blunder free us and foolish notion. What airs and dress and gait would lay us an even devotion.
Thank you so much, Hannah. So good! Big shout out to Hannah Visocki. Thank you so much for doing that for us. I'm just in awe of people who can speak Scots that fluently. I was not brought up speaking Scots. It wasn't really a thing that, we did in our household. Like a lot of Scottish people, you're told, speak English, speak properly, even though we now know that kind of properly isn't really properly. So it fills my heart with such glee and joy to hear people speaking Scots, especially when that Scots is written by Rabbie Burns. So aren't we lucky that this event's coordinator and resident Burns authority, Shona Murray, also happens to be an incredibly talented performer herself. Shona's not only an MD and a musician, but she is a composer and a singer and an all-round fantastic human being. Now, this song needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. We are going to head straight into Shona Murray with her rendition of Red, Red Rose.
It's like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody so sweetly played in tune. As fair the words my body that so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, though all the seas gang dry, though all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. I will love thee still, my dear, though the sands of time may run. So fare thee well, my body that, and fare thee well, and I will come to you again, though it were 10,000 miles, though it were 10,000 miles, my dear, though it were 10,000 miles, I will come to you again, though it were 10,000 miles.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's just too much. I'm gonna take a moment to read a couple of messages that are in the chat for those of you who do not have the chat function. We've had I was already crying. We've had a couple of emojis. It's been called beautiful, sweet, breathtaking, which are all words that I would just describe Shona with, let alone Shona's music. That was absolutely incredible. And what a song. What a song. Is it just me, or is Burns just... We know he's a good writer. We know it. That's why we celebrate him every year, yeah? But, do you know, sometimes when you hear his stuff, it's like you're hearing it for the first time and you really picture the imagery that he uses and you feel the love that he has when he writes down these words. It's just incredible. Now, Shona has written not one, but two musicals featuring the work of our ploughman poet, both of which have had rave reviews at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. The first show, Armour, A Herstory of the Scottish Bard, is actually available to watch as part of the Swallow Theatre's online season. It is live right now, so catch it before it ends its run on the 31st of January. But don't go right now because we're not finished yet. Now, I am so blooming excited to announce our next guest, who will be doing The Immortal Memory. For those of you who don't know, maybe you haven't been to a Burns night before, this is the part of the evening where a guest speaker talks about Robert Burns, his life, and why on earth we still celebrate him every year. With almost 70,000 followers on Twitter, the mind boggles. This person has made a real splash with her poems in Scots, her advocacy for the Scots language, and just her great personality. She rose to fame doing a Scots Word of the Day video, of which there is now over 200. She is an artist, a writer, and a true inspiration. So here to do our immortal memory, we are introducing Miss Len Penny.
Hi, I'm Len Penny, and I'll be doing the immortal memory for you. I sat down to think about what I wanted to say, and I ended up getting a wee bit emotional because my earliest memories of Burns are actually some of my earliest memories. We always learnt them in the house, the poems, the songs, and in primary school, when I was very, very wee, I got asked to perform in a wee Burns competition. So I got all ready and learned the poem and stood up and said my poem, and I lost. And I was absolutely devastated because I thought to myself, I've put in so much work, I've learnt this poem. And then that was it. From then on, I just had to get better, had to get more eloquent, had to get better at saying his poems, reading his poems. So I got a wee bit obsessed. And every year I would learn a Burns poem and I would stand up there and I would compete. And sometimes I would win and sometimes I wouldn't. But unbeknownst to me, through that research, through that studying, through that, application of myself to Burns' work, I became completely obsessed and completely immersed in his world. So when you learn a poem, you can't just learn the words and say the words, because the words are there for a reason and you've got to figure out what that reason is. So every single word that Burns wrote, I would scrutinise and study, and it's only through that study that you realise just how rich and how immersive his writing is. And one of the great things about Burns, and why I think he's still popular today, is because it's universal. The stuff he says isn't old-fashioned and outdated now for the most part. When you read Tea Moose, when you read all these, these phenomenal works, and you apply them to a modern context, they still hold water. For example, the last line, Tea Moose, and forward though I canna see, I guess and fear. That's a universal truth, that'll never die. And that poem in particular is such a phenomenal allegory for climate change, for global warming. He has come across this wee mouse in a field, he has disturbed it, and he is apologising. He has imposed man's dominion on the natural world. And if you think about it, does that know what we're doing with climate change? Humanity has imposed upon nature, and it's up to us to apologise now. So it's things like that he was writing in a time that was obviously very different, but the fact that he was talking about universal human experiences and love and things that will never become old-fashioned is why his work still holds water. Because there's some people you read and you think, oh, that's very much of its time, that's very dated, whereas I have never read a Burns poem and thought, that doesn't apply to me. Particularly when you think about the way that he was writing. He was writing in the Scots language, something that I'm very passionate about because of Burns, because when you study a language through poetry, it becomes ingrained in your soul again. So it's something that I'm constantly attacking from the perspective of we have to preserve this, we have to protect this. And I use Burns as an example of why we must do that, because though Burns wrote a lot in English, his main body of work is in Scots, and if we didn't teach people what these words mean, we lose such a wheen of just richness and interest when you read poems, because the way that he wrote was so evocative and so gorgeous, and if you just read the poem without knowing what the words mean, you don't get half of the meaning and the just the absolute soul of the poem. His poem Address to the Haggis, where he stands up and just gives this monologue about what you would think wouldn't be that interesting. It's one of the things that I just absolutely love about him, is the fact that he can take an encounter like meeting a mouse in a field, or falling in love, or a haggis, and turn it into something extraordinary through his words and through his work. And for me, in terms of inspiration, there's absolutely nothing like it. There's no poet or writer or author, whatever you want to call him, who touched that many people and who inspired that many people. Because even now in Scotland, during this week, Wayne's have been writing wee poems and songs and standing up and doing competitions, and people like me were doing it. I did the Burns competitions for about 8 years, and every single time the place was packed with Waynes. There were so many children who were engaging with the literature of their country, and it's unheard of for any other poet to have children engaging with their work hundreds and hundreds of years later. And that's just a testament to why Robert Burns is so prolific and so inspirational even today. It's so inspiring, in fact, that I decided to shamelessly rip off his work, and I'd like to think that I haven't bored you enough. So I'd like to read my wee poem for you, just to emphasise how inspirational Robert Burns is. I decided to take Address to the Haggis and change it to Address to the Lead as a sort of inspirational ode to the Scots language, because it is a minority language, it is endangered, so I'm trying to get as many people enthused about it as possible so we can continue to have wee Burns people, wee kids and Waynes and bairns emulating Robert Burns. And it's an exciting time for the Scots language, because as Burns, Knight, Rosarune and everybody engages with the literature, it becomes easier and easier to tell people that this is an important historical and modern thing that we should be preserving and protecting and uplifting. So I'd like to finish on my wee poem, if you don't mind. Thank you very much for listening. Fair fa your honest sonsy face, wha hinks o' Scots is a disgrace, a lead that's meant for lesser hings, no there to learn, a lead well kent by mony folk that doesna hear 'em. A hint keyboards the wee troll bides, aboon your soul the hatred bides, your words are naught but draps o' rain agin my heed, tak's mair than dubs all filled with pish to droon me deed. We ken the rot your soul contains, one single lead within your brains, I look upon ye filled with shame, but dinna fash. The Scots lead moans strive on in spite o' all your snash. Then, word for word, Scots will nae dee, my time and tongue o' I can gie, and gie it a' I will until my final breath. Our poems will be said by bairns, lang past our death. Is there that troll wha sneers in shame, or cries me mony a hateful name, or seeks to cause me muckle pain for what I do? Looks down with sneer and scornful view on what I say? Poor devil, see him o'er his screen, his grammar neat, his English clean, he affects for country and for queen, but doesna see. If Abdie's gonna look his way, it isna me. But mark the chiels wha speak the lead, wha kens its living never deed, and kens it's fit for all the time, no special days, and sees the poor wee hypocrites on 25ths and Hogmanay's. Ye powers, whar way me every hour, gie me smedum ye canna smoor, old Scotland wants nae linguophobes wi' a hateful heed. But, if ye wish her grateful prayer, follow my lead. Thank you very much. To Robbie Burns.
And if you would all like to join me in raising a wee glass to Robbie Burns, that would be super good. I can't see any of you, so I'm just going to assume that you've all got a glass. I've got some red wine because I don't drink whiskey because I'm too clever for that. So if you'd all like to raise your glass, here is to the Ploughman poet, Robbie Burns. Cheers. Yummy. I loved that. I absolutely loved that. Fraser once said to me that her speaking is a bit like ASMR, and I absolutely agree. Len Penny can poem me to sleep any day of the week. I think her voice is so soothing, but the words that she says contain so much heart and passion for the Scots language and for Robbie Burns. We just had to ask her to do our immortal memory, and I think she did a really good job. And with that, let's move on to some music to keep us merry. You might recognise these three from the Scottish music scene and abroad. Between the three of them, they have received countless awards and recognition. from the BBC Young Trad Musician of the Year, BBC Trad Awards, the MG Alba Scott Trad Awards. They've performed with people like Skerrybor, Skippinish, Katie Tunstall, the Red Hot Chili Pipers, Fatsuit, Fatherson, Roland Stapleton, and even performed for Prince Charles at Buckingham Palace. We are so chuffed and thankful to have them perform for us tonight, and feel free to have a wee dance because I know I will. Here are Marion Scott Wood and Norrie McIver playing their original tunes, Feed the Penguins, Donny's and Alfie's Reel.
Thank you. Well, we're going to carry on with a set of tunes. The first one is called Feed the Penguins, which is written by Scott over there, after a trip to the zoo. And then we're going to go into a tune called Donny's and finish up with a reel called Alfie's Reel, which we wrote for our wee friend who lives in the north of Scotland.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
goodness. And I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the chat that's been happening. There are people saying that they can't wait until we can Kaylee in person. And do you know what? After the excitement and the buzz and how much fun we've had putting together tonight, it is absolutely on the cards for Kick the Door to do an in-person Burns Night in Kaylee in 2022. So pop it in your calendars. We're only a year early. If we start planning it now, then hopefully it'll all be okay. Oh, Welcome. So we're going to move on to another poem, another Burns poem now, and we are really excited to have another brilliant Scottish performer tonight. Now, this actor is best known for her role in Scot Squad, but you also might have seen her as a panto villain, an Offie nominee, a Shakespeare aficionado, a voice actor, including for the Neil Gaiman classic Stardust. She is one of Scotland's best performers, and I am thrilled to introduce the great Karen Barkey performing Epistle to a Young Friend.
I lang hae thought, my youthful friend, something to have sent you, though it may serve nae other end than just a kind memento, but how the subject theme may gang, let time and chance determine. Perhaps it may turn out a sang, perhaps turn out a sermon. Okay. You'll try the world soon, my lad. And Andrew dear, believe me, you'll find mankind an unca squad and muckle them grave you for care and trouble set your thought, even when your ends attained, and all your views may come to naught where every nerve is strained. I'll no say men are villains, they're real hardened, wicked, with hae nae checks but human law, are to a few restricted, but mankind are unca weak and little to be trusted. If self the wavering balance shake, it's really right adjusted. Yet those with fallen fortunes strive, their fate we shouldn't censure, for still the important end of life they equally may answer. A man may hae an honest heart, though poor just hourly stare him. A man may take a neighbour's part, yet he nae cash to spare him. Aye, free off on your story tell when with a bosom crony, but still, keep some to yourself you scarcely tell you on. Conceal yourself as well as you can frae critical dissection, though keek through every other man with sharp and sly inspection. The sacred, low, a well-placed love, luxuriously indulge it, but never tempt the illicit rove. Though Nathan would divulge it, I waive the quantum of the sin, the hazard of concealing, but it hardens all within and petrifies the feeling. To catch Dame Fortune's golden smile, assiduous wait upon her, and gather gear by every wile that's justified by honour. Not for to hide it in a hedge, nor for a train attendant, but for the glorious privilege of being independent. The fear of hell's a hangman's whip to hold a wretch in order, but where you feel your conscience grip, let that eye be your border. Its slightest touches, instant pause, debar all side pretences, and resolutely keep its laws. Uncaring consequences. The great creator to revere must sure become the creature, but still the preaching can't forbear, and even a rigid feature. Yet ne'er wi' wits profane to range be complacence extended. An atheist lass a poor exchange for deity offended. When ranting round in pleasure's ring, religion may be blinded, or if she gie a random sting, it may be little-minded. But when by life we are tempest-driven, a conscience but a canker, a correspondence fixed with heaven is sure a noble anchor. Adieu, dear, amiable youth. Your heart will ne'er be wanting. May prudence, fortitude, and truth erect your brow undaunting. In ploughman speak, God send you speed still daily to grow wiser. And may ye better read the reek than e'er did the advisor.
Oh, that was so good. I'm saying that about everybody, but I'm not lying at all. Karen has mastered the art of something that I have not mastered yet, and that is the art of just taking your time, using the space in between words, you know? You might notice that I speak quite quickly, which, you know, Karen doesn't fall to. That was really, really beautiful. And what a beautiful poem. That poem was recommended by our resident Burns lady, Shona Murray, and I'm so glad you recommended it because that was really lovely. We're going to move on to a song next, and our next song is A Fond Kiss. This is Burns's most ever recorded song, apparently, even though I really thought it would be Red Red Rose, but apparently not. And it's one of my personal favourites. Burns wrote this after his final ever meeting with Agnes McElhose, also known as Nancy, or Clorinda, with whom he had a long-standing emotional affair. After which she left for Jamaica to be with her estranged husband, and he went back home to his wife, Jean, for now. This is the original breakup song and a firm favourite amongst Burn lovers, myself included. And tonight we're going to hear it sung by Colin Thomas Bruce. Now, Colin is a tenor and a graduate of the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. Under the banner of the Tartan Tenor, he enjoys a very busy concert schedule within the UK and internationally. He has toured with the acclaimed quartet, the Opera Boys, as well as appearing as a guest entertainer on a cruise ship. Many cruise ships, in fact, such as Cunard, Crystal, Celebrity, Saga, Norwegian, and P&O. Aside from his live performances, Colin lent his vocals, get ready for this, because I was shocked when I found this out, lent his vocals to the 2016 Tony Macaroni Scottish radio campaign. The guy who sang on Tony Macaroni. I remember that so vividly. So here is Colin Thomas Bryce with A Fond Kiss.
Well, hi there everyone, happy Burns Night to you all. My name is Colin Thomas Bryce, also known as the Tartan Tenor, which you might think is not the most necessary of titles for someone who sings high and comes as subtly dressed as this. But someone's got to do it, and I drew the short straw, so here I am. Now, on a Burns Night you'll obviously hear many famous poems, many famous songs, but you can't have a Burns Night without this next wee number. A fond kiss and then we sever, a farewell alas forever, deep in heart-wrung tears I'll pledge thee, warm sighs and groans I'll wage thee. Who shall say that fortune grieves him, while the star of hope she leaves him? Mean a cheerful twinkle lights me, dark despair around benights me. I'll ne'er blame my partial fancy, nothing could resist my Nancy, but to see her was to love her, love but her and love forever. Had we never loved so kindly, had we never loved so blindly, never met and never parted, we had ne'er been broken-hearted. Fare thee weel, my first and fairest, be Ilka joy and treasure, peace, enjoyment, love and pleasure, a fond kiss and then we sever, a farewell, alas, forever, deep in heart, from tears I'll pledge thee. One sighs and groans, I'll wage thee.
Yes, Colin! Oh, that was so lovely. That is absolutely one of my favourite Burns songs of all time, especially for the lyric, all of them, because I just forgot the whole entire song, even though I sang that song not only many times at Burns Nights, but also I sang the whole song when I was in Shona Murray's Fearless Players production of Armour, A History of the Scottish Bard, back in 2018. But that's what happens when you don't write something in your script and you try to improvise. Anyway, if you've ever been to a Burns night, you might have seen a toast to the lassies and then a reply. So this is a long-standing tradition where a man would lead a toast in honour of the ladies in the room, filled with quotes, comments, and maybe a wee joke or two. And then the chosen lady would reply to that toast. Nowadays, we know that gender operates on more than a binary, and there are many people that don't identify as either a lad or a lassie. But still, this is a well-loved and time-honoured tradition, and it's one of my personal favourite Burns Night highlights, because it's always hilarious. So we've decided to include it in tonight's festivities. Even if you don't identify as either a lad or a lassie, we hope you enjoy these speeches anyway. So tonight, we have Fraser Scott, one of the founding members of Kick the Door, who has prepared a very special toast. Fraser is not only the tech genius behind this whole night, but also he is the dramaturg and director of a lot of the stuff that we do as Kick the Door. He's a filmmaker and he runs our sister company, Kick the Door Digital. He is an absolute treasure of a human being, and I'm very excited to hear what he has to say about us, I guess. So fill your glass, open your lugs, and get ready for Fraser's toast to the lassies.
Hello. I have to admit, doing a toast to the lassies in 2021 is no easy feat. For those of you who don't know, the toast to the lassies calls back to a time when, much like voting booths or taking part in the Olympics, women weren't allowed in. The men would pause their night of discussing gender politics, queer theory and socialism, and thank the women for cooking them a wonderful meal. To be honest, I'm surprised they even did that, given the poor women probably cook them every other day of the week as well. It's set an annoying precedent, actually, because now I feel like I have to thank my girlfriend for cooking dinner for me at least once a year. When researching this toast, a lot of websites suggested that you open with some classic sexist jokes, and I sort of felt that this forward-thinking 21st century audience was past lazy stereotypes and misogynistic humour. Instead, I wanted to tell you about this amazing sink I've got. I just put the dishes in, and when I come downstairs the next day, they're all clean. It's the same with the washing machine. In fact, I don't even need to put the clothes in the washing machine or even near the basket. I just kind of leave them lying about, and the next day, they're clean. It's great. Now, I obviously can't hear your applause, but I know you're all laughing and clapping, so I'll like to finish. Now, on to the man himself. Robert Burns loved women. Well, he loved them just enough not to commit to one. Burns gave life to between 12 and 16 children before he died at the age of 37. Since the age of 20, they reckon Burns had one child every year, so either he was looking to stage a production of Oliver, or they hadn't invented pulling out yet. It does beg the question why so long after his death we still carry this tradition of toasting the lassies. Burns loved women and he loved life, and he celebrated both with great respect. In fact, women were the subject of many of his great works. Of course, My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose is perhaps one of the most romantic works ever written. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. On the subject of love, Burns wrote the following. For my own part, I never had the least thought or inclination of turning poet till I got heartily in love, and then rhyme and song were, in manner, the spontaneous language of my heart. which is a very pretty way of saying he wrote poems to get with the girls he fancied. Whilst we might now criticise Burns for his infidelity or for his self-described bachelor in wedlock experience, it is clear that to him, lassies were one of his greatest sources of inspiration, and I think that is at the very least reason enough to carry on this tradition of toasting the lassies. I would be doing injustice, however, if I didn't at least mention the poor lassies that had to put up with this 18th century Barney Stinson. Jean Armour met Burns in 1784, when he was 25 and she was 17. I'll again remind everyone that this was 1784 and his poems were really romantic. Burns was a poor and struggling poet and already had other women and a child by now, so I can't blame Jean Armour's parents for sending her off to Paisley. After this, Burns' heart longed for someone new, or maybe some fresh inspiration for his poetry, and he met Mary Campbell. The golden hours on angel wings flew o'er me a my dearie, for dear to me as light in life was my sweet Highland Mary. Burns held a deep love for Mary, and whilst they possibly exchanged marital vows at some point, she tragically died in childbirth in Greenock. This left Burns heartbroken, and he continued to write about Highland Mary many years after her death. Mary passed away in October 1786. The month previously, Jean Armour had given birth to twins. I wonder who the father was, I hear you ask. Burns was also beginning to earn some global fame and recognition for his work, so the month after Mary Campbell's passing, he went off to impress Jean with his newfound fame and success, to find two wee Burns-shaped surprises when he got there. As you can imagine, eventually Jean fell pregnant again. Her parents were eager for her to marry, but Burns had found another lassie to write poems about, Agnes McElhose. Agnes was married at 17 and had 4 children before leaving her husband on grounds of cruelty, and she eventually met Burns in Edinburgh. Surprise, surprise, he fell in love with her, but his advances were not quite returned. Burns' affair with Agnes wasn't physical in any form, and it fueled the writing of one of his most famous works, A fond kiss, and then we sever, A farewell, alas, forever. Deep in heart-wrung tears I'll pledge thee, warring sighs and groans I'll wage thee. The lack of intimacy caused this affair to fizzle, which caused Burns to dry his heart-wrung tears on the bedsheets of Jenny Clow, a servant girl we know very little about. She did, of course, become pregnant with his child. Eventually, Burns returned to poor Jean Armour, who had 2 more wee Burns babies waiting for him, and in a letter he wrote to Agnes about Jean, he said, I am disgusted with her, I cannot endure her, I have done with her and she with me. 6 weeks later, Burns married her. Burns' marriage to Jean, whilst full of writings of his love for her, was riddled with affairs and complications, and faithful Jean continued to carry children for him, giving birth to his final child on the day of Burns' funeral. I believe this is another reason for upholding the toast to the lassies. These women deserve some credit and respect for putting up with such a romantic and fickle man, as do all the women who came before and all the women who come after. It can't be easy. In his writing, Burns does show a great respect for women. Whether it was for the purposes of wooing a lassie or not, Burns strove for equality in a time when that was very much not the way forward. In Rights of Women, he wrote, while Europe's eyes fixed on mighty things, the fate of empire and the fall of kings, while quakes of state must each produce his plan, and even children list the rights of man. Amid this mighty fuss, just let me mention, the rights of women merit some attention. Admittedly, this poem was written by Burns for a woman, and not even one of the ones we've mentioned. If any single men are watching, if you also want the financial and mental toll of 16 wains and 4 poor, struggling women, just write some lassies a poem. If recent times has taught us anything, it's that sweeping generalisations is never a good idea. So let me say this on behalf of all men. We have it lucky, and we don't know how good we've got it. Burns is an incredible poet, and we've one thing to thank for his stunning writing: lassies. So, I ask all men to raise their glasses and toast not just the lassies, but anyone who identifies as anything but men, for putting up with us, for being stronger and better. To the lassies.
Yeah! He was like, can men raise their glasses? I was like, here. I was like, I'm not a man, but I'll drink to me. That's fine, I guess. Thank you so much, Fraser. That was a really, really lovely speech. And Iona, I'm sorry. So, before we have our reply, here is a tune that has many connotations. While some debate the location/meaning of these lyrics and how much we should take literally, it's safe to say this tune is all about dating, frolicking, and having a grand old time away from prying eyes. Now, this is a wee bit weird because I'm supposed to introduce myself. And surely you didn't expect me to host a Burns night without singing a wee tune. So here is one I made earlier, and it is me singing Coming Through the Rye.
Oh, is it my turn already? This is Coming Through the Rye. If a body meets a body coming through the rye, if a body kisses a body, need a body cry. Every lassie has her laddie, none they say have I, but all the boys, they smile at me when coming through the rye. If a body meets a body coming through the well, if a body kisses a body, need a body tell. Every lassie has her laddie, everyone but I, but all the boys, they smile at me when coming through the rye. Do not ask me if I love you, that I cannot tell. Do not ask me if I love you, stop and ask yourself. Don't you look like that at me? You know that I'll stay true. Oh, don't you look like that at me? I dare not look at you. When you go into the town, no bonnier lover see. Don't you look like that at them? Just keep your eyes on me. And I could never stand the one that you loved more than me. Oh, I'm sure my heart would break if you were false to me. If a body meets a body coming through the rye, if a body kisses a body, need a body cry. Every lassie has her laddie, one they say have I, but all the boys, they smile at me. Coming running through the rye, coming through the rye, coming through the rye, coming through the rye, the rye, the
Thank you very much, everybody who was chatting in the chat. Thank you so much. That arrangement was recorded by our very own Shona Murray, and it was written by Matthew Brown, who I know because he used to teach at my school. And I did a Burns gig for him last year and sang this arrangement. And it was notated and kind of fixed up by Simon Lowe, another really sick guy. So thank you very much, everybody. That was really, really lovely. I've got a beamer because I'm reading all your nice comments, so I'm just going to really swiftly move on. Anyway, next up, we have our eagerly awaited reply. Now, this reply is done by Iona Ramsey, the other founding member of Kick the Door. Personally, I can't wait, but before we go, I'm going to tell you a wee bit about her. I'm going to give her a beamer because why not? Iona founded Kick the Door with Fraser way back in, I think, 2019. They're going to text me and be like, wrong. And Iona is the writer for a lot of the things that we do. She is a wordsmith in her own right, a female Burns, if you will. She's also a kind soul and one of the most creative people I've ever met in my entire life. And here she is with her reply to the Toast to the Lassies. So here we go. Iona.
Hello everyone, I'm very proud to be replying on behalf of the Lassies tonight. And firstly, I'd like to thank Fraser for his toast to us lassies. And the word toast does seem appropriate because it's the only meal that Fraser can successfully cook. Okay, that was maybe slightly harsh. Fraser is an incredibly intelligent human and I've personally witnessed him complete near impossible tasks, like writing a toast to the lassies, 80% of which is about a man. Now, the reply from the lassies is traditionally meant to be roasting men, but I will not be doing that today because we all know men do a pretty good job of making a fool of themselves all on their own. So instead, I'm going to be showing my appreciation for men because, as I'm sure we're all very aware, throughout the history of mankind, men rarely get a mention. Now, on to one of Scotland's most underappreciated and least celebrated men, Rabbie Burns, who we've just learned had more children than the family in Cheaper by the Dozen. But we know that Rabbie would have been a great dad. In fact, when Elizabeth Peyton was giving birth to his very first child, without any help from modern medicine, Rabbie was of course away writing a poem. So here's a wee excerpt from it. Though now they call me fornicator, and tease my name in country clatter, the mair they talk, I'm kent the better, and let them clash. An auld wife's tongue's a feckless matter, to gie ain fash. Heartwarming stuff there. And considering this was child number 1, I can't imagine how good the poem for child 14 would have been. Now, I think we can all agree that Rabbie never got the credit he deserved for writing this poem during the birth of his child, because childbirth is such a famously stressful time for men. And although he may have missed the birth of his first child, he had at least another 14 chances to experience it again. And, you know, while I've personally not had the experience of giving birth yet, I'm sure any person that has will tell you the most helpful thing their partner could be doing during the painful experience of labour is writing some poetry. Now, as Fraser discussed, we all know Rabbie Burns wasn't shy when it came to wooing women, and it got him a bit of a reputation. But thankfully, we don't have any men like that in 2021. Of course, I'm joking. In fact, in 2021, we actually have a special term for a man who makes his way around lots of women. And a lot of people have said that if Burns were living today, he would fit into that category. Now, I'm of course talking about the fuckboy. For anyone who hasn't heard that term before, it's a term that usually refers to a boy who is juggling lots of girls at the same time and will drop them as soon as someone else comes along. For example, messaging your sidebird that you hate your girlfriend only to marry her 6 months later. A real fuckboy move there, Rabbie. I'm sure all the lassies have come across one or two of these boys in their lifetime, but controversially, I'm not sure Burns was a fuckboy after all. I mean, you only need to listen to the lovely things he wrote about the women he loved. For example, I see her in the dewy flowers, I hear her sweet and fair. I hear her in the tune for birds, I hear her charm the air. There's not a bonny flower that springs by fountain short or green. There's not a bonny bird that sings but mings me imagine. I mean, as compliments go, nothing gets more specific than birds and flowers. Now, I just don't think you could write something like that about someone you didn't love, which is why he wrote that for his love Jean, and Anna and Katie and Clorinda and Jenny and Delia and Epi and Clarice, Eliza, Nellie, Mary. Okay, so maybe Burns was a bit of a fuckboy and made it all the more dangerous with his writing abilities, but what a wonderful example he set for the men of today. You might actually say that with apps like Tinder, the art of wooing women purely with your words and metaphors has come back into fashion, so I thought we could take a minute to appreciate some of the great love sonnets from the bards of today. As we can see, a lot of influences there. Anyway, I could go on and on about stereotypes of men, but there are actually lots of stereotypes about women. That they're always nagging you and telling you what to do, and that they're always right. And there's a very famous example of this in Burns' poem Tam O'Shanter, where he has a nagging wife called Kate who warns him not to go to the pub or something terrible might happen. So your average conversation for any couple on a Saturday night then. But in Tam O'Shanter, Burns puts it, she prophesies that later soon there would be found deep drowned in Doon or catched through warlocks in the murk by alleyways old haunted kirk. But, as most men do, Tam brushed his wife off and went to the pub anyway, and sure enough, on his walk home, he passes by some witches and warlocks who chase him home, and his poor horse Maggie loses her tail in the process. So, if Tam O'Shanter taught us anything, it's that, much like we've learned from the First Minister during the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, most men would rather face certain death than listen to a woman. But as much as a joke, where would we be without all the men in the world? Probably still in the European Union. Okay, so maybe instead we should raise our glasses to the men that we know and love. Fathers, brothers, boyfriends, husbands, to those who identify as men, to the men who wear kilts, to the men who wear dresses, to all the men in a woman's life. Thank you. So this one goes out to men, but as they love to remind us, not all men. Cheers.
I'm so sorry, I was trying to get it back together before I came back, and I just can't. Not all men. Thank you so much, Iona, for that speech. Give me just a hot second. Okie dokie. Right, let's move swiftly on. We are actually coming to the end of our evening. Oh, goodness. Now, they might kill me for this, but I cannot let this evening pass without mentioning the brilliant work both Fraser and Iona are doing for the Scottish art scene. Work that, fortunately, they have now asked me to be a part of. The three of us now run Kick the Door and its sister company, Kick the Door Digital. And through them, we are creating musicals, short films, soon to be published, mini magazines, and so much more. We already know that Scotland is a place filled with creativity and originality and magic, and we are proud to be contributing to that. So if you'd like to know more about what we do or keep up to date with our latest musical thread, then you can go onto our Twitter, Instagram or Facebook to find us there. And with that shameless plug over, we hope you enjoyed our tunes and our chat. And I'm happy to announce that we have the final numbers in. Drum roll, please. It's only me. Thanks, Fraser. We have raised £550 for Refugee, which is just such an incredible number. I am absolutely buzzing. We started off the idea for this night with very, very humble beginnings. It was just us in our group chat being like, hey, we should message Shona because she's a really great Burns lady and we should put on a virtual Burns night and try and raise some money for a good charity. And we did it with the help of all of our performers, with the help of all of you guys watching. So thank you so much. £550 in one night virtually is just incredible. So thank you so much. This is money that is going to go towards like care packages for refugees. It's going to go towards paying volunteers so that they can receive training to be able to emotionally support new families that move here. It will pay for them to go to kids clubs. It will pay for the mums to go to like mummy and me classes to get more integrated into the community. There's so many amazing things that Refugee do, and we are so happy to be supporting them. So thank you so much for that. This year it might have been a wee bit different to how we usually celebrate Burns, but despite the common difficulties being faced globally, the ability to connect with people online from all over the world is a silver lining that allows us to share a word, a song, and a toast to a poet who knew how to tug at the heartstrings and say what we didn't know how to. So, closing tonight's festivities is Beth Malcolm, a multi-award winning singer-songwriter who has performed all over, here in Scotland and abroad. And if you love what you hear next, you can actually catch her performance in Celtic Connections online for the rest of the week. Now, just to remember that 100% of tonight's proceeds are going to the Glasgow-based charity Refugee. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure you'll join us in thanking all of our performers for lending their time and their talents in the name of such a good cause. So put your love in the chat if you would like to. By coming together, we are helping to continue the great efforts of a great charity that we think Rab himself would be proud to support. So feel free to hold hands with your family or stand up and belt out and sing along. And please enjoy a heartfelt goodbye and a thank you from all of us here at Kick the Door. And to see us off, here is Beth Malcolm with Auld Lang Syne.
Hello, it's Beth Malcolm here, and I'm delighted to sing for you this Burnsnicht. I'm going to sing one of Burns' most well-known works, Auld Lang Syne, and it's really a song to gather people together at the end of a céilí, any kind of gathering or concert, and I hope that wherever you are tonight you will join in and sing with me. This is Auld Lang Syne. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot for Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne. O kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne, and surely you'll be your pine stoop, and surely I'll be mine, and we'll take a cup. O kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne, for Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup. O kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. We twa run up the braes and put the gowans fine, and we've wandered many's a weary fit, said Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my Jo, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup. O kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. We twa paddled in the burn frae morning sun till dine, but the seas between us braid he roared, said Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my Jo, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup. O kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. And there's a hand, my trusty friend, and gies a hand o' thine, and we'll take a recht good welly wacht for Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup. O kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. Thank you.